Loco Home was set up roughly 2021 when Chris Karras and I met. We met on the fringes of a low carbon homes conference in Glasgow. And at that time, I was looking for opportunities to work on building decarbonisation, which I felt to be one of the big challenges we need to tackle, and also specifically something focused on Glasgow, which was my new community. We set up Loco Home as a not-for-profit and a cooperative, and we're a social enterprise. And that means we primarily make money by selling our services. And the services that we sell and the focus that we have is on privately owned homes in Glasgow. So we're very focused on decarbonising private owned homes in Glasgow. And the services we provide to private homeowners is retrofit, advice and coordination services. We set ourselves up as a cooperative and also as a not-for-profit. We did that quite deliberately because we recognize that building trust is an essential ingredient to successfully decarbonising homes. There's quite a large lack of trust, particularly between homeowners and the supply chain. And so what we wanted to do was to set up a place-based, so an organisation that's here in Glasgow, intermediary that sits between households and the supply chain and builds trust between them. And so we felt the best way to achieve that was to create a member-based organisation, a cooperative. So we're owned, controlled and governed by the members. We currently have 220, but the number's growing all the time. Our members are a mix of homeowners and suppliers, overwhelmingly homeowners. So we have a very open membership, anyone can join. And because of that, we have householders and suppliers. So people like builders, insulation installers and heat pump installers are all part of our membership. And there's a really interesting conversation and set of interactions taking place. And I think genuinely that trust is being built. We think that it's really important for local people to be in control, but also to be participating in deciding what's happening in the future. We also use a form of sort of social change theory called community-based social marketing. And the idea behind that is that fundamentally, when you look at the decisions that people make around things like environmental actions or health behaviour change actions, merely providing people with information is proven to not work. So we need to do more than just provide people with information. Information is a required ingredient for success. But what we also need to do is we need to tap into the social networks that exist within communities. If people hear information from their neighbours, and if they if they see the evidence that their neighbours are engaging in that activity, and they themselves are able to make commitments that they're going to make the actions, such as retrofitting their home, then they're far more likely to go ahead and do that. So we're avowedly for Glasgow, but we don't think that means Glasgow City Council boundary. In some places, that boundary is really close to the city, and in other places, it's surprisingly far away. What's important to us is that we think there needs to be local people in control of the decarbonisation, the transition to low-carbon economies. So how do we work with the local authority? Well, there's many local authorities for us. There's Glasgow Council and the 7 surrounding local authorities that we're keen to work with. Now, naturally, we've started out being quite focused on Glasgow City Council. Thankfully for us, there's been a newly formed retrofit team within the council, and we've been able to form good relationships with them, and we think they're an amazing team doing great work. in terms of suppliers, we think that we actually have a two-sided problem. On the one hand, there's not enough households stepping up to take action to decarbonise their homes, but there's also not enough suppliers. So we're trying to tackle both of those problems at once. We've started out by focusing on the households, but now we're increasingly speaking to various suppliers and installers. But we're also increasingly having conversations with the supply chain, the installers in particular, about what they need and how we can perhaps help them with those needs. And that includes things like training, and it includes things like access to a good cohort of customers who are well informed. We are a member of the Glasgow Communities Climate Action Network, and the network has really led the application for funding under Climate Action Hub's program. What we've been delivering under the Climate Action Hub has been really drawing out stories of retrofit, because we think that the challenge of decarbonising homes is at least as much a social challenge as it is a technical challenge. It's therefore important to tell human stories of people who are going through the process of retrofitting. And so we use some of that funding to draw out some stories of decarbonisation of buildings and climate impacts and mitigation measures. The truth is that we're fairly precarious, because until such time as we've been able to make the retrofit of our homes a mainstream part of the everyday narrative, and that we have a willing supply of households who are wanting the sort of services that we offer, it's very tight for us to be able to actually maintain a steady stream of income to deliver the services so we can then achieve the impact that we want to achieve. The good news on that, however, is that what we're doing is quite pioneering and innovative, and so therefore we've been able to be recognised as an organisation that is doing pioneering work, and therefore, and so we've been able to get grant funding support to test out some of the ideas. But the key for us is to work collaboratively, to build trust, and find the partners that you can work with to achieve shared impact. We really have one big goal in our mind, which is that we want to ideally be at the heart or be centrally involved in a one-stop shop for retrofit. So the single place that anybody comes to, regardless of whether they're a household, a finance provider, an insulation installer, an architect wanting to know more about retrofit, even the government, it's a single place that people can come to connect with other people, to learn more about retrofit and have their problems solved collaboratively. And along the way, what we want to really achieve is a moving of this idea of retrofitting our homes from being a niche activity that's undertaken by a few households who are in the know to a part of the mainstream narrative and just a normal thing that's done by every household in Glasgow.